This is Gary.
I'm Austin.
And we are Midwest Mikes coming back at you, back-to-back shows. My second show in less than 24 hours.
That's good, man. It's good to get back into it.
Yeah.
It's good to be talking about NFL playoffs, and it's good to just be back talking about sports. There actually is a lot going on that we could talk about, and especially since me and Gary and Joey doing a lot more gambling because of DraftKings and stuff. We're getting definitely more into college basketball, and probably as the NFL kind of starts, like we're starting to get into college basketball.
Yeah,
and which is really fun, and it's kind of fun to get into that. And you can see which teams are going forward and stuff. So a lot to talk about. So it's fun to kind of get in here and get into this stuff. So today, Gary and Gritty went through some NFL playoffs yesterday, and you were saving your AFC, really your
NFC.
You're saving your NFC for today.
Yeah,
I'm going to go through my AFC in depth, and then we'll do NFC in depth, and I'm going to say how we're betting the games. I'm sure Gary is too, and then we'll talk about who we actually thinks is going to win because it can be different. It could be different, depending on the spread and depending on who you actually thinks is going to win, or you think it's going to be close or a blowout or whatever. So we'll do that. Do you want to go ahead and start with that first game?
Yeah, go ahead. What's the first game on the slate?
Awesome, man. Saturday at 3:35, we get the what I think is going to be – well, no, actually, now that Tua's out, originally I thought this was going to be the most lopsided game. It is the Seattle Seahawks traveling to San Francisco 49ers. The one thing that's interesting about this game is it's a division game, so maybe a little closer than you think because these teams know each other really well. But for the Niners, minus 9.5 was actually a no-brainer for me. I would have taken them up to minus 14. Mm-hmm. Big reason for me is not coaching. I think Pete Carroll is an amazing coach. For me, it's just the overall talent levels right now on the team. San Francisco's defense throughout the year has been ranked top 5 all year. I believe are they number 1 right now? I think so.
Yeah, number one
defense, and they're going against Geno. Kansas City Chiefs fans are familiar with Geno. He actually didn't look great against us, and our defense is ranked 16th right now. The Chiefs got middle-of-the-road defense that comes up with big plays, but is middle-of-the-road. So, and I think San Francisco actually is running on all cylinders. We got to see that on Arizona when they handed Cliff. They put the final nail in Cliff's coffin in JJ's last game. They really just kind of rolled him. And I'm actually a big fan of – it's funny. Our buddy Tyler is a big Brock Purdy guy, and he talks really highly about him.
Just because he's from Iowa State.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be the same way. When you have a guy of a team that you really like, and you see him coming in, and you're like, "That's my boy. This guy's great." He messaged me today and said, "We're definitely going to see a Brock Purdy Super Bowl, sometime in his life against Breece Hall." So he's saying at some point there's going to be a Niners-Jets Super Bowl. I don't know about that, but this year I could see San Fran making it. So easily for me, I'm going 9.5 San Francisco.
Yeah, I think San Francisco wins this game, but I don't think they'll cover the 9.5. I think Pete Carroll is a good enough coach to keep it kind of under that 10-point range. Now, I don't think Seattle has enough players to upset the Niners. Now, say what you want. I mean, they've played twice. Niners pretty much handled them both times. So it is really hard to beat a team that third time.
Yep.
But, again, I don't think Seattle has enough. Geno Smith has played really well at times, but there's a reason that he's not with the Jets anymore, and he's kind of bounced around. And even him and Drew Lock were competing for that starting job kind of in camp and things last fall. So, I'm not saying that Geno's garbage by any means, but, they just don't have a lot of help there. I don't think that defense is good enough to contend with all the weapons that San Francisco has on offense, even with the limited quarterback play of Brock Purdy, which, he's an Iowa State kid. I think he kind of fell into the right situation in the NFL.
I mean, I think so too.
I think there's 31 other teams that if he's starting for right now, we're talking about how they don't have a chance.
Yeah, and you can see it throughout the years with Kyle Shanahan. Just about any quarterback that plays under him, and worst case, has a respectable game.
Yeah.
There's games where he's starting, I don't remember his first name, Mullins or Mullen or whatever, and it would have respectable games and would cover, because at that point they'd be on plus, they'd be underdog spreads, and they'd cover those underdog spreads. Kyle Shanahan against spreads actually is very profitable. It's when he starts getting to, and this is the detriment to me going to minus 9.5. Super high spreads for him are not always in favor of him because of the style they run too. A lot of defense, a lot of running, a lot of ball control, a lot of short throws. Brock Purdy doesn't have to go down the field very much because they get those guys in open space. And, and I think, and that's just kind of where I'm at. But I do concur with you on you don't want to play. It's hard to beat an NFL team 3 times.
Yeah.
Because talent levels, say what you want, even the Houston Texans, say what you want about talent levels in the NFL, they are very close.
Yeah.
You're usually a quarterback away from being a dominant team. You're usually a decent or good defense or a really great running game away from being a playoff team. And so it is really close. I am already on 9.5. I probably will not put any more money on it unless I do some kind of teaser. Which throwing San Fran in a monster, if you're adding 13 to him, I think is auto.
Oh yeah,
you would get San Fran to you'd get San Fran plus, and I think you don't have to worry about nothing. So on that note, we kind of differ on that. But do you still think San Fran's going to win?
Yes, I still think San Fran's going to win the game. I just don't think they win by 9.5, 10.
Okay, I can get on board with that.
So. If I haven't bet it yet, but when I do, I'll take Seattle in the points. And again, I'm not saying Seattle's going to win the game outright. I'm saying that they're going to keep it kind of a one-score game.
The fun thing about the gambling is, I already have my picks in. If these guys, Joey or Gary, we're in a shared group on DraftKings. If these guys come up with some parlays and stuff, even if I'm opposite of them on some of my other bets, I'm probably still going to tail them. Yeah. Just because it's fun to play together. So that's how that is. The next game is Saturday night, 7:15. Actually, I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a close game. The Chargers go play the winners of the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of the candidates for Coach of the Year. There's 2 guys I'd give it. I would think about giving it to. One would be Doug Peterson. The other one for me would be Brian Dable. Mm-hmm. I think Doug Peterson's done a lot and had done a really nice job with Trevor Lawrence, especially in the last 8 weeks as they kind of surged and turned into this team. I'm not trying to bring up bad memories, but you saw how they played against Dallas, and Dallas to me is a very good team. Mm-hmm. I think Jacksonville is nice. On that flip side, though, I've rolled with the Chargers right now, minus 2.5. Something could change my mind, and I may move back to Jacksonville, end up putting more money on Jacksonville. But actually, what I ended up doing with this game, since I think it's going to be so close, is I have the Chargers minus 2.5, and then I have a teaser. I have a teaser back when it was plus 2, and so I have Jacksonville plus 8 with a Cincinnati minus 1. And so I actually I think that's good. But I think this is a 3-point game either way.
Yeah, I talked about this game last night, so I'll just reaffirm I'm on the Chargers to win the game, and I think cover the 2.5. I think it's a 3-point game either way.
I know. The thing is, if you lose that bet, like say you bet at 2.5 and you end up losing, I'm not super shocked.
Yeah,
I'm not like, I can't believe it.
I do. I think it's a 3-point Chargers win. I just think that the Chargers coach can feel a little pressure. I think the Jags, again, they're playing on house money.
Yeah,
and it shows you how terrible Urban Meyer was. Your favorite coach
really
of
does.
all time.
Man, I've had rants about how much I can't stand Urban Meyer, and this is before
the Jacksonville
job, and I'm going, this guy stinks. To me, he was a low integrity person, and I think players, once he starts getting to the pro levels, and you're coaching men, and you can't get the respect of NFL guys by bullying them.
Yeah,
we've seen it especially over the last five years, especially players, coaches are winning right now. Mm-hmm. Big time. They're getting guys to buy in better, and they're turning around franchises way faster than if you're some kind of hard-nosed. In the 80s and in the early 90s and stuff, the hard-nosed coaches, Parcells and stuff like that. they'd win. But now it's turning around. So I think it's actually going to be a really, really good Saturday night game. I think it's going to be back and forth, and I think it's going to be exciting. And you're seeing two of the young quarterbacks. When you start watching the AFC playoffs this year, I'll be kind of in awe of the future of the AFC, where Patrick Mahomes is the oldest quarterback in the AFC playoffs.
Yeah, right now.
Like, that's crazy to me. So
yeah. All right. First game up on Sunday.
First game up on Sunday is we got at noon. We have Miami going to Buffalo.
I didn't get that.
I grabbed Buffalo when it was -9. It's now -13. I got it before the official news of Tua and Teddy being ruled out. So Miami's rolling with Skyler. No knock on Skyler. Casey, dude, I think if Skylar Thompson is your third string quarterback, you're in a fantastic shape. Because Miami with Skyler can go out and beat bad teams. But the problem is they're playing. Some people believe Buffalo's the best team in the AFC. I don't. But worst case for me, they're the second or third best team in the AFC. So I don't know. Buffalo covers 13. It's a huge number for NFL. I definitely wouldn't take it 14, but I wouldn't. If it makes sense, I would not take Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it last night. Nothing has changed my mind overnight on this game, but I think Buffalo will win by 3 scores.
So you think you'd be comfortable taking Buffalo?
Yeah,
up to minus, would you take the -17 or would you stick to 16?
Probably 16.5.
And it gets to 17. If it gets to 17 for me, unless I'm throwing Buffalo in a teaser or a money line like parlay, it's a no bet for me.
Okay, yeah.
But can't say enough. Basically, what that really comes down to is basic. It's Josh Allen versus Skylar Thompson.
Yeah,
in Buffalo in 28-degree weather. I heard Grady look up the weather yesterday. I'm sorry, man. It's just not going to happen. If Miami does beat him, that's one of the biggest upsets in the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh, for sure.
So we're on the same page on that game.
Yeah, we are.
So the Sunday afternoon game, which is a very interesting game, and I can't believe what side I'm on, and I think it's going to come and bite me later. The Giants are going to Minnesota. One of the other candidates for Coach of the Year, Brian Dable, who has done an awesome job with the Giants, with really not a much different roster, right? A pretty healthy Saquon makes a big difference, but Dable's really changed the culture there, and Daniel Jones looks much better. I don't know if he's the guy going forward, but it'd be really hard unless you're going to go get one of the big names that are going to be floating around to say, man, I want to draft somebody to replace Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Unless you can go get Lamar or you can go get Derek Carr. Well, I wouldn't. I don't know if I did go Derek because the contract's so huge. But unless you can get Lamar, some reason get Rodgers, some reason grab one of these other free agent guys that are going to be out there. I think they stick with Daniel Jones.
As a Cowboys fan, I block Rodgers coming to the NFC East. I block it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that dude.
Yeah, I mean, think about it's one of those things where some people have said Rodgers has kind of fallen off. We're getting off topic a little bit, but it's important to talk about Rodgers because he's one of the quarterbacks that you specifically said you didn't want to see in the playoffs. So Detroit did everybody a huge favor.
They did. I was a huge Detroit fan on Sunday night.
And really, Rodgers, through the last 8 weeks, have been pretty hot.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to see him in the playoffs. Detroit actually had been, got a little hot on that game too, and they were wanting it more. I think another thing is I think Green Bay's roster was not built. Besides Rodgers, there ain't nobody there for him. Yeah. I mean, it's really weird how you can. And if I was a Packers fan with front office, I'd be upset.
Yeah, and kind of on Detroit, before we get back to the playoff game. But one last note on Detroit. I was really on them even at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Bet the over-under. It was 6.5. I took the over, on 6.5 wins, which they obviously got a couple weeks to go even in the season. But yeah, so I was high on Detroit. I kind of made fun of the Dan Campbell hire when it happened, but it's really turned out, I think, to be a good move.
It's one of those things. Did you think it was a bad hire or more like a weird hire?
Yeah, weird hire, I guess I should say. Not necessarily bad.
Yeah, it's like he got hired and everyone's kind of like, okay. And then he gave his first speech at the podium, like his opening press conference, and you're like, this guy is kind of crazy, but he's fired up. But I could see how the players are going to buy into him, and
they have.
And their roster is the same. It's not great.
Yeah,
they have Jared Goff, who was looking like his old self. He had 2 years where he was a little rough, and then this year he came out. But if we remember, 3 years ago, this dude is going to the Super Bowl. He's playing the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, and it's one of the best games anyone's watched. Not for defense, but for offensive purposes. And so it's like it's kind of interesting how that goes. So, all right, well, we'll shift back over to Giants Vikings. I'm going Vikings. I did bet them. I can't remember. I have to look it up. It's -3 right now, and I can't remember if I got them at 2.5 or 3. I still take Vikings. For me, I didn't bet a lot, and I don't have a ton of thought into this game. Where my thing is still, I think the only thing that could bite me is if Cousins plays like 3:00 Cousins. And I think he's had a game where he still looked good this year. I think but there's more games where if he played primetime or 3:00, he wasn't looking good. I'm hurting my case right now, but I actually think that's the only thing that'll bite me because I think Justin Jefferson has potential to have a 100-yard game. Actually, every game he could do that. And I like the Vikings roster a lot better. And I actually do like their head coach, even though I love Brian Dable. I believe the Vikings head coach, I can't remember his name, old OC for the Rams, I believe, right? Is that right?
Kevin,
old OC for...
Is it Kevin O'Connell? I think he came from L.A.
Yeah, so for Rams?
Rams, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got a sharp mind. So I actually think this will be a solid game as well.
Yeah, I think this will be a really good game, too. I kind of teased it yesterday and said that there was a guy on the Vikings that really only plays well at noon on Sundays.
That's one reason I brought that up.
So I got to go with the Giants. I know it's kind of the hot, sexy pick. It's not like I'm picking a huge upset here. I mean, I really feel like when you get in the playoffs, I mean, we talk about Miami, that would be a huge upset. But that's because they're on their third quarterback, right?
Correct.
So I really think the Giants can go pull this thing off. They played Minnesota, I think, in week 8 or 9, and it was a close game, but Minnesota won. Minnesota's undefeated in close games this year.
Correct.
They've either played close games and won or got just completely steamrolled. Like when Dallas went up there, when I was in California was when that game happened, so early December. And then when the Packers played them in Lambeau, like 2 weeks ago, and the Packers really embarrassed them. And, that was 2 of their 4 losses were
I thought Dallas
double digits.
When I thought Dallas, Minnesota, we were at the casino, I thought.
Dallas won 40-3.
Yeah, I thought we were at
Was that Prairie Man?
Prairie Man.
I knew I was out of town.
Because I remember we were like giving you crap, and then you were just on a high note.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, because we were in the hot tub, and then you were like, "This game's over, boys. Let's go do something."
Yeah,
because
maybe that was
you were smoking them, but yeah, that was an interesting game too. But so if I was a Cowboys fan, I'd say, please give me let me beat Tampa. And please somehow let me play the Vikings. I can't remember how all the seating's working. I don't know if you guys potentially can play them.
Well, we would, unless there's an upset, we would more than likely go to the Eagles next week. But if the Giants upset them, which I'm calling, then the Giants would go to the Eagles next week,
and you guys would go play.
And Dallas would go to San Francisco.
Dang it! I don't know which one you'd rather play.
Yeah. But. Anyway, I'm going Giants in this game to win. So then obviously I'll be on the plus 1.3 or plus,
okay. And
plus 2.5.
Money line's plus 145 right now too.
Yeah, or money line. I got them in a teaser right now, and I took Giants. So I think I end up with Giants plus 9.5.
That's on BetMGM, right? You shared, or was that Caesars?
That was Caesars. Yeah,
you shared it with us.
It was either plus 9 or 9.5.
I looked at it once.
Yeah.
I actually like because do you think this is going to be a close game?
I do.
So potentially, if you do a teaser either way, you may be okay.
Because I don't think that the Giants are capable of blowing them out, but I think Minnesota's kind of luck of 1-score games and plus Cousins not playing at noon just catches up with them.
Yeah, and that's not a bad take. And the thing is, the cool thing about the playoffs this year is a lot of these games are seeming either they're going to be really close or we're thinking they're not.
Yeah.
So next game is the Sunday night game, which to me is not a great game. Two good coaches, and actually the better coach to me is on the underdog side, but he's missing his quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's potentially missing his second-string quarterback. That dude, I think he practiced today, and it's looking like
Snoop Huntley.
Huntley's on his way. And I think actually for a backup, Huntley is solid, right? So this spread right now is 9.5. I got it at Bengals -7, which I'm still comfortable with. Anything above 7 to me, I'm a no bet. Or I'll tease it.
Yeah.
But I think the Bengals win by 7 to 8 or 6 to 8. So my bet, we'll see. I think it's quarterback, and I think it's the Bengals are pretty freaking hot right now.
Yeah, I think it's Bengals by 3 to 7. So
Okay.
I love the 9.5 for
Yeah,
Baltimore.
Yeah, I know you're a Baltimore guy, so if I was
if Lamar were healthy, that line would obviously be a lot closer.
What do you think that line would be?
I think it's closer to 3.
Yeah, 3 or 4, right? 3.5.
If Lamar's healthy, but and I said last night, which some people were saying like, oh, pick a side, but I'm like, if Lamar Jackson plays, this is a different game. They can win.
They can.
I don't think they can win with Huntley playing quarterback.
I agree. I think they could win with Lamar.
Same thing.
I think they would lose. I think home field would come into play.
Mm-hmm. But they might not have had home field had Lamar played last week.
Because Baltimore still won 11 games.
Yeah.
It's pretty good for Lamar being banged up for a while.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't practiced since like December 4th.
So you're saying Cincinnati wins.
Cincinnati wins.
Does not cover the 9.5.
Does not cover the 9.5. I'm taking Baltimore in the points.
I don't think they cover 9.5. I'm very comfortable with my 7. Well, I'm not very comfortable. I'm good with my 7. But like I said, I have them in a teaser where I got a -1. I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah. So I got a teaser.
Did you go Ravens?
Yeah. So I got like plus 15.5, I think.
Yeah, that's
or 14.5.
A great
because it might have been 8.5 when I got it.
Yeah. To me,
I can't remember the exact number, but I got Baltimore and 2 touchdowns.
To me, a great coach like Harbaugh doesn't get blown out in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have
his game plan will be good enough to keep it close.
Have his guys ready, man.
Yeah,
I think so. Last game, we're talking about a Monday night game, which actually this should be a good game too. Dallas,
it's the main event.
So Dallas is going to. I mean, it might be the best game of the weekend. We'll see. It's either that. To me, it's either that or Jaguars, Chargers as the 2 top games. I think. So Dallas goes to Tampa. Dallas goes to play TB12.
7-0. Tom Brady 7-0 against the Cowboys. All time.
Do you think he takes an L?
Yes.
If I was a Cowboys fan, I would say the same thing.
All streaks come to an end.
I grabbed Tampa. I'll tell you why. And I did not deep dive on this. I took Tampa +2. I got them +2.5. I wish I would have got the 3. I love home dogs in the NFL, and I'm taking Tom Brady, and that's it for me. It's Tom in the playoffs, and I could see if this game, Dallas's best shot to negate anything Tom can do in the fourth quarter is Dallas needs to handle their business big time in the first 3 quarters. Don't let Tom get the ball on a 2-minute drill to win the game. And you can say that about a lot of quarterbacks, right? Don't give it to Herbert, Mahomes, Brady. A lot of the great ones, right? They have to. If Dallas can get into the fourth quarter up by 9, I think they have a great chance of pulling it off. But I listened to what you guys talked about yesterday. I think you guys are right about Parsons needing to get after him. And I didn't know that stat about the first game that you guys threw out where Parsons dropped in the coverage 47% of the time. I'm not sure why. Because
it was game 1 of the season.
And it's hard to question a guy like Dan Quinn, who's done a fantastic job, and I think is a really, really, really sharp defensive mind. He obviously had something schematic-wise that he thought he saw. Mm-hmm. The only other thing I could think of is, hey, man, this is week 1. I'm going to rush. I'm going to bring him at the quarterback over 50%, but I want to see what he can do in coverage because if we screw this up week 1, we got another 17 weeks with a bye week to fix it. Because Dan Quinn, to me, is probably a very forward-thinking guy, and I think he'll be up for, if he wants it, he could be up for a head coaching job to me.
Yeah, Denver, I think, has requested to talk to him so far.
And it could be the right direction for them because they'll need to hunker down on defense big time. Or, I don't know. I really want Denver to hire some idiot. I wish I keep that guy they got.
Hackett?
No, they fired Hackett. Keep
the interim guy,
quality control guy they promoted to head coach.
Yeah,
or go hire Jeff Saturday. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think he's available.
I really like Jeff Saturday, but that was not a great hire.
No.
So we're differing on that. You have Cowboys winning and covering. I have Tampa winning, but I'm not going to bet them to win. I will only take them if I get.
Yeah. So I've kind of been saving this take. I'm taking Dallas. I would take Dallas up to 9.5.
Oh,
Dallas is winning this game by double digits.
Okay.
There isn't going to be any 2-minute Brady heroics. What if? They're not going to let it come down to that. I don't know if you saw it because you're not a Cowboys fan. You don't follow probably a lot of those players on Twitter like I do, and a lot of the Cowboys media people. But yesterday, the players' All-Pro team was released.
Yeah, and I didn't.
And it was voted. I didn't either, but it was voted on completely by the players,
which I love.
Okay, but you could only vote for somebody at your position.
Okay.
That you played against. So if your two teams didn't play, you couldn't vote for another guy.
So you could only vote. You only like a linebacker couldn't vote for a quarterback.
No.
Okay.
Linebackers voted for linebackers or guys they would go against, like on the offensive side. So like a defensive lineman could vote for an offensive lineman. Offensive lineman could vote for defensive lineman.
Corner could vote for a wide receiver.
Wide receiver, and vice versa.
Or defensive back or whatever. That's interesting. Or you could vote for other D-backs.
Yes. But there was a huge omission off this list.
Dakota?
Micah Parsons was not on the list. At all.
Who was above him?
I don't know who the linebackers were, but it was not Parsons. And he tweeted yesterday. Micah Parsons literally tweeted, "Fuck that list. I'm in playoff mode." So that guy's pissed. So, yes. And guess what he's had to hear all week? Getting ready for Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's never lost to the Cowboys. Tom Brady's 7-0 against the Cowboys. Tom Brady's beat this Cowboys team twice in the last 2 years. Dak Prescott's never won a road playoff game. Okay, this team's coming out firing. Micah Parsons is going to have 2.5 plus sacks on Monday night, and they're going to throw Brady a retirement party on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it's just one guy, right? This
mean?
List is just one. It's one guy wins the list. That's what I'm seeing. Like it's like.
Oh, I thought there were two, but
no. So it's one. Looks like first team.
So they're only playing one linebacker.
It's like one edge rusher was what it was called. So edge rusher. First team NFL All-Pro defense. 2 guys, 1 AFC, 1 NFC.
Okay.
Nick Bosa.
All right.
Who's banged up.
Yeah.
For some of the year. Interesting. Ty Parsons with 90 pressures. He is the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Bosa is? He didn't even play all year.
No way. Led the league in sacks.
Yeah. So,
interesting.
Micah Parsons is going to have a coming out party on national television on Monday night.
Yeah, and I wouldn't doubt it. It's funny when I talk about some of these bets, and I do feel pretty good about some of them. And really, the Tampa thing is home dog and Brady. But if the Cowboys come out and they beat him, I'm not like unbelievable. Oh my god! So I don't know how much money I'll have on this weekend. If I do some stuff, it'll be mostly through teasers because I can grab some really good value that way and swing some stuff. Because I think some of these games that are close, you can stretch those to, 6 points either way, I mean, that's going to be big time. Or you round robin it and you go 4-2 or 5-1 or whatever, and you do all right. But these games this weekend are going to be good. There's a couple blowouts that we think are going to happen. But overall, this should be a really good week of football. You guys talked yesterday about who you thought was going to come out of the AFC and who you thought was going to come out of the NFC.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I got Chiefs, Cowboys, Super Bowl.
Yeah, and so I'm going to stick with my Chiefs. That was my preseason, and I'll stick with it. I got no reason to think otherwise. They're the number 1 seed. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he should win an MVP. I don't know who else it could potentially go to, but I like him for MVP. And then out of the NFC, my preseason prediction was the Rams. I don't know how many people. I don't know if anyone thought they were going to fall off as hard as they did through injuries, through just Stafford's shoulder being messed up, through McVay potentially being exhausted. So I'm going to switch that, and I'm going to go with we'll get a rematch. I think we're going to get a rematch of the San Francisco 49ers versus the Chiefs. And I think there's a good argument to be made there. I could also see coming out of the NFC, I could easily see the Cowboys, even though I have the Bucs, potentially beating them. I think if the Cowboys get past this Bucs team, I think it's a weird weight lifted off their shoulder. I don't know, that sounds kind of weird, but to get that road playoff W.
Yeah, road playoff win for Dak.
I could see that, and easily also I could see Philly coming in there because I've watched Philly play when they're at full strength, and they're very smooth. Yeah. That running game they have is very smooth, and Jalen is that guy. Like he's a nice quarterback. So it's going to be interesting. And obviously, at the AFC, the only other 2 teams I see coming out, Cincy, Buffalo. I don't see any other team making it out. The only team that would super surprise me, Baltimore, Jacksonville would surprise me if they came all the way out. Other than that, if the Chargers are the weird team, the Chargers are the team that even during the span of a game, you can see them going. They play out of their mind, and then other times you see them and go, weird play calling. What were they doing? What was Herbert looking at? And then, like I said, on the flip side, all of a sudden they turn it on and they go crazy. Because they played the Chiefs very tough this year in both their games.
Yeah.
If I'm the Chiefs, I don't want to play against the Chargers because same rule that you talked about. You don't want to try to beat an NFL team 3 times in 1 year. Mm-hmm. I don't want to play Cincinnati because we don't have success against them.
Yeah.
Can the Chiefs beat them? Sure. I'd rather play Buffalo.
Yeah.
Which sounds really crazy.
Yeah, so, I talked yesterday. Obviously, Dallas was my pick preseason. I'm sticking with that in the NFC. And then AFC, I talked about, I had Baltimore. Obviously, they're not at full strength, so I'm moving off them and going with the Chiefs. Back the hometown team to come out of the AFC. So I've got a Chiefs-Cowboys Super Bowl. Gritty had a Chiefs-Cowboys Super Bowl. And you've got a Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl.
I'm sorry, Gary.
It's all right.
You know what? If the Chiefs don't make it, I'll root for you.
Yeah.
And then freaking Joey can give you $100.
Yeah, Joey and Joey. Give me $100.
So that'll be
win the Super Bowl.
Be great. Interesting topic, I think, for Cowboys is, do you think McCarthy's job is safe?
So, I wanted to get into this a little bit.
That's an interesting question.
And here's where I'm at with it. Okay? I said at the beginning of the year, if he didn't get to the Super Bowl, that I thought he would be fired. I really think if he wins 2 playoff games, if he gets to the NFC Championship, that he will keep his job at this point. If you look at his record in his coaching career and Sean Payton's record in his coaching career, they are the same.
Winning percentage-wise?
Winning percentage-wise. Like the number of games won, all that stuff. Both have won Super Bowl. So, to me, barring an embarrassment on Monday Night Football, not necessarily a close loss, but an embarrassing loss to where you lose by double digits to this Tampa team, I see Mike McCarthy as back next year as the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So now, if they go Monday and get blown out,
so you're saying if they lose but close, he'll be fine?
I think he'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Where I'm at with it, I think if he loses his job. I think if he wins, his job is safe.
Yeah.
I think it's right there. McCarthy, like you said, winning percentage good. Weird. The only thing I question sometimes is some decision making. I think sometimes his time management's not great, which is a lot of coaches you can point to like that because there's so many like moving pieces.
Yeah, I mean, does he have his flaws? Absolutely.
Every coach does. Even Big Red does, baby.
But, I mean, he's got back-to-back 12-win seasons.
Yeah, I'm not on the. I'm not. Yeah, he's definitely
was literally
not terrible.
You know, and I mean, you think about it. We lost our left tackle preseason. You lost your starting quarterback for 5 games week 1. You've lost 2 starting defensive backs throughout the season. You're still 12-5, and literally we're 1 game from winning the division.
And you do have that statement game this year where you just beat the brakes off Minnesota.
Yep.
And they're the 3 seed.
And
they're the 3 seed.
Indy was the game I was thinking of where I was out of town, where they beat the brakes off Indy.
Yeah, they beat the brakes off a team that they should have.
Yeah.
This
was when Jeff Saturday was coaching.
Yeah, and I don't mean to say that to discredit. I mean to say that as they did their job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the Chiefs lost to Colts. I mean, the Colts were coached by
it was a different Colts team,
Frank at the time, but they shouldn't have lost. They should have lost to the Colts. But every good team has that loss where you go, what was that? What was it? And so you learn from it or whatever. So interesting. I think NFL playoffs every year they're always really, really, really good, and I think this year's no exception. We can move off NFL, and there is something I wanted to talk about. We watched this game together. What happened on Monday night when Georgia played TCU? What happened?
Better athletes.
Is that it?
I think that, and I mean, my attitude going into it was kind of that Georgia got the scare in the semifinal, and so
you said that. I remember you said that in our group.
They
message.
knew, like, we got to just go out and take care of business. So I just think that was the mentality. Now, when TCU made it 10-7, and Georgia went on a 4-play drive and scored, that's when I knew, like, okay, boat race is on. Like, I don't know if you remember, but I said it right then. I was like, oh, this game's over now.
So it goes, it's 10-0, and I'm with Gary, and I'm like, man, if TCU can score here, because I have TCU plus, I believe, 13. On the flip side, halfway through the season, I bought a Georgia national championship future. So I'm like, okay, my thought was TCU loses between 7 and 10. This is going to be an okay game, but I think Georgia's going to beat them. And I think if they get up by a certain amount, they're going to run, and TCU have a little comeback. And I was wrong. Georgia was pedal to the metal the entire game, and I don't blame them because this is it. So pedal to the metal. You could definitely tell on the Jimmy's and Joe's side, Georgia's athletes are supremely over-talented over TCU.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that in the trenches, where the Georgia's O-line, no matter what pressure TCU brought, it's not even close to Bennett. And then you could see Duggan never, ever comfortable.
Yep.
Running for his life. I'm talking about, it's not even an exaggeration to say this guy was running for his life the whole game. The whole game. He ended up with negative 38 rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Sacked so much.
Which is very unusual for a college quarterback to get negative rushing yards.
I mean, I remember him snapping the ball, and he's in gun, and he's snapping, and there's a Georgia D lineman, on him in half a second.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this ain't even. But exactly what you said, dude. TCU gets that 7. I'm thinking, hey, because me and you were, no matter what the stats guys say, that momentum's not real. To me, it's 100% real.
Yes.
Because we've bet on momentum, and it's been money for us. I think the momentum was slightly going back towards TCU, and Georgia did that 4-play drive just like you said.
Yep.
And that was it. I think that was it. It was over. Now, I will say this to you. It's not next year, but in 2 years we get the 12-team playoff, right? To me, TCU maybe doesn't even get out of the second round, the semis, I guess, if they're doing that. I don't think they – I think if they run against the SEC team in the first round, I think they are to lose, and they don't even make it to the championship. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, which, I've said it 1,000 times, I love college football. I love watching college football. So if you're going to give me more college football, I'm going to watch it.
Yes.
But I do think you're going to see more games in a 12-team playoff, like we saw Monday night, than close games. I think you're going to see more blowouts than you will close games. I think now when you get down to the semis and the final, I think you'll see those games will be closer.
Yes.
Because you'll really have your better teams. Because, I mean, and I'm by no means throwing shade at TCU here.
Great season.
Because TCU had a great year. The committee put them in. They handled their business against Michigan and got to the championship game. So congratulations, TCU. But I just think the format of a playoff, you know, the closer the more teams you have in, and then the closer you get to that championship, the better players will rise up.
You know, and I love Lincoln Riley and I love USC, but if I put USC playing against Georgia that night, I don't know if it's the same score, but it's a similar outcome to me because USC, to TCU's defense, metric-wise, is better. USC's defense is not –
yeah, they're not good.
And that's putting it lightly that they're not good. But the cool thing we're going to get with that 12 team is by the time we get to the semis and by the time we get to the championship game, that's definitely going to be the best 1 to 3 teams, 1 to 4 teams. Because we'll get rid of it'll filter it out.
Yeah.
Alabama has a shot to make it in. Because you put Alabama against TCU, I don't know if they score 62, but they beat them. That Bama defense runs on.
Yeah, I think,
and I hate to be that. I am an SEC guy, and I hate to be that because I think it's kind of sometimes it's too much to be like SEC is the best, SEC is the best, SEC is the best. But I'm like, dude, I look at some of these SEC teams and I go, they're just bigger, man. That D line is just bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we kind of feel the same way about that game.
Yeah.
So. College football season is awesome. I love college ball.
Yeah, me too.
Another thing that'll be cool about having that playoff is potentially we get – well, I don't know if we potentially get less blowouts, but my only knock on college football is sometimes throughout the year we get too many 50-0 games. Yeah. And so I don't know how you fix that.
And I don't know how they're going to structure it, but if they did, because they were talking about the first 4 teams maybe get a bye. So then, you'd have 5-12.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think 5 is closer to 12 than 1 to 6.
We had proof this year. Yeah. Tulane, I believe, was 11 or 12,
something like that. Yeah.
USC was 5 or 6.
It was somewhere in there. So I think
that game was a great game.
I think the distance between 5 and 12 is not as great as the distance between 1 and 6.
I 100% agree.
So that's why I'm saying I think, you get less blowouts toward the end.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So it's good. So that's transitioning off. Football's, NFL's transitioning off, but we're huge fans of the USFL, and we'll be huge fans of the XFL. And I don't know how many people are into that, but we'll be into it, so we'll talk about it on here.
We'll be talking about that.
And I think there's a St. Louis team.
There is a St. Louis team.
So me and Garrett probably roll out there and watch a game.
Yep.
We're not committing to anything right now, but I would, if you had to bet money, hey guys, you're going to go to St. Louis and watch a game. Yeah, schedule's permitting, probably yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to be in Vegas possibly when the Vegas team for XFL has a home game.
That's right.
So we may go check that out depending on the time of day that game is and how expensive tickets are. I can't imagine.
I bet it wouldn't be that bad.
I bet tickets wouldn't be super expensive, so if it works out there schedule-wise where we're already in Vegas, we'll probably check that out too. So if you are an XFL fan or a USFL fan, then we'll be following those leagues as well when they start up here next month.
For sure. And we'll be talking about betting on those teams and stuff like that. And we'll get really, as college basketball becomes the main sport for us, we'll get into more depth on how to handicap in college basketball, which can be tough to start out, and then once the season goes on, you start seeing who's actually really good.
Yeah.
Which props to the Big 12. Big 12's a great basketball conference so far this year. Oklahoma almost beat Kansas.
Yeah.
Kansas came back shout out Gary grabbing plus 550 with like 3 minutes to go.
I think it was like 6. They were down 10.
And they were down
was
10.
down 10.
He got that faith in Bill Self.
I got faith in Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that's a
that place, all of a sudden, right after I took that bet, KU hit a 3, and then they got a steal and made a layup. And so all of a sudden it was a 5-point game, and Allen Fieldhouse was rocking. And then after that, it was, KU taking it home. So, yeah, I did kind of – and that's one of those things where, momentum was on the side of Oklahoma but at the time. But I'm like, God dang, it's Allen Fieldhouse, man. It's Bill Self. It's Kansas basketball.
It's almost an automatic bet to put a Kansas at home money line or a small spread in your parlay, round robin, tease them, whatever. It's pretty much an automatic
because
bet.
I had bet Kansas to cover the 10.5, which obviously they did not. At that point, I knew they were not.
Made the money back on the plus 550.
I was making the money back was my thought there. So, hey, you win some, you lose some, but this is the time where I really start to follow college basketball and get into it because NFL is really down to 1 or 2 days a week versus, you don't have Monday, Thursday, Sunday, Saturday. Like this weekend is the last long weekend of football.
Yeah.
And so after that is really when I dial in.
Yeah, 100%. So.
And a couple bets tonight, we'll just throw them out there that we're on. Kind of homer picks for me. I went Iowa -5 and UMKC -2, both at home.
I'm tailing Gary on both of those, but my line switched up when I tailed him. So I have Iowa -5.5 and KC -1.5. I have no rhyme or reason for doing that except homers, and I'm tailing Gary. So let's go Kangaroos. Let's go Hawkeyes.
Yep. Homer picks. I didn't do a lot of research on those, but we'll start getting you some college basketball picks and keep going from there.
All right.
I'm Gary.
This is Austin.
And this has been Midwest Mike's. We'll see you guys next week.